Hi there, my name is Jason King, and I'd like to introduce you to the World of Work online activity. Now, the World of Work online activity is brought to you by Salford Foundation. A big passion of ours at Salford Foundation is to make sure that students of all ages are able to get good quality careers education. And to do that, we bring employers from across Greater Manchester to take part in some of the events that we hold. So for today's session, you're taking part in the World of Work online. This activity is great for you to learn about job roles, to learn about different qualifications needed for all different types of careers and jobs out there. To do this activity today, what we're going to do is we're going to introduce you to 4 different volunteers. These guys have put in lots of time and effort to bring you some content so that you can learn a little bit about the jobs that are available, think about some of the day-to-day roles, and think about some of the activities that you might take part in if you had one of these jobs. Okay, so to complete the online activity today, what you need to do is watch the 4 volunteers, and as they speak, we want you to write down some notes. Them notes are going to help you and encourage you when you're thinking about your futures, when it comes to your careers and jobs. Also to think about your future education as well. Once you finish watching all the videos, we're going to get you to complete another activity. This is just an opportunity for you to reflect back on everything that you've learned today and to be able to think about maybe some future questions that you've got when thinking about your careers. One of the things that we'll ask you to do is write down a question for our volunteers today. Well, then what we'll do is we'll send them questions off to our volunteers. They'll record another short video for you to watch in a few weeks' time. So without wasting any more time, we'll just dive right into it. So I introduce to you your first volunteer.
Hi guys, my name is Luke Kitto and I'm here today to talk to you a bit about my job role at CGI where I work, some of the things I get up to on a daily basis and my career journey so far. So like I said, I work for a company called CGI. We are a global IT company. We have around 78,000 members worldwide with around 7,000 odd in the UK. Projects we work on that you may have heard of include smart meters, so producing smart meters for homes across the UK. We've helped to put satellites into space for GPS and sat-nav signals, things like that. We've also worked on various military projects, including the Royal Artillery. So very varied. We've got business units including finance, space and defence, all sorts. It's a really interesting company to work for, and I've been at CGI for probably just over 5 years, 5.5 years now. So yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. So it's quite difficult to actually give you a day in the life of my job because it kind of really does vary day to day. Sometimes I work from home, which is brilliant. I love great flexibility and able to do so. Sometimes I work in the office in London, which as well is brilliant. I love the hustle and bustle of doing that. I'm often in other offices around the UK, such as Edinburgh, Manchester, Birmingham, Leatherhead, etc., which is also great. Going out to meet lots of different people is really enjoyable, and it's great that we get the opportunities to do so. Also in schools, so like I said with STEM camps, I'm in about different various schools, colleges, etc. when we put on events. That's really good as well. So it's really good that the role is really varied. It tends to be more, when I'm in London in the offices, it tends to be a lot more meeting, a lot more face to face. So meetings that are really good, and when I'm from home it tends to be where I do the bulk of my actual work, and then when I'm in sort of schools and colleges, is like I say, it's when we're doing the events. So it's good that the job's really varied, get to meet lots of different people, and yeah, I really enjoy it. So how did I get into this career? Quite an interesting story actually. I joined CGI on the sponsored degree programme probably about 5.5 years ago now. So the sponsored degree programme is where you go to university 1 day a week, so you do your whole week's worth of lectures in that 1 day, and then you work at CGI for 4 days. So quite intense, but then in holidays such as over the summer and Easter and Christmas, etc., you'll work full time, and at the end of the 3 years, once you've got your degree, all paid for, fully funded, books and everything by CGI, it's brilliant, really recommend it. You then are a fully fledged CGI member, so then you'll go to work in 5 days a week. So CGI were really supportive throughout the scheme. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. It was, it's a lot of work having to balance a degree, but then your time management skills, your interpersonal skills, and your relationship management, that kind of thing, really does develop throughout the program. So yeah, I joined that 5.5 years ago. So I've been full time for about 2.5 years now. I've worked in a variety of offices around the UK. I've been based out of Leatherhead, in London and in Reading. Currently I'm based out of London, but like I say, I do work from home quite a bit as well. So when I started at CGI, I was in what's called the project management office. So I was a PMO. So this is a lot of admin, a lot of spreadsheets, a lot of sort of detailed day-to-day sort of run-of-the-mill stuff. I was PMO on smart metering in Leatherhead for about a year, maybe just over a year. And then I joined SDI to work in some space programmers. So it was really good. I got to work in Prague in the Czech Republic, And I also lived in Paris for a year working with various different agencies. That was fantastic. Absolutely loved that. That was for about 2.5, 3 years. Then I'll come back and I'm working internally, working for the CSR team. Totally different to being out on client site, but I absolutely love it. All the job roles I've had has been very much face-to-face, a lot of client interaction, a lot of relationship management as well. Working with clients and being busy day to day, very sort of using my social skills is something that I've really enjoyed doing. So I'd probably say that the highlight of my career has been getting to travel. I really enjoy traveling, both inside and outside of work. Getting to go to, I've probably been to about 15, 16 different CGI offices in around the UK, some in Europe as well. It's been really good. Getting to travel, living out in France as well was brilliant. Getting to meet some of the PSG players when I was living in Saint-Germain was brilliant as well. So I'd say probably traveling, getting to meet new people and kind of the variation of the work's been really, really good, and that's what I've enjoyed the most. So have I had any other jobs? Apart from my paper round when I was about 16, 17, no. So I've been at CGI for all of my real sort of adult working life. But it's been so varied and being able to work in many different areas, many different job roles. It's felt like doing different jobs, but it's been so good being able to work, like I said, with different people, different job roles, and being able to have that varied work life over the years. It's felt like I've been in many different jobs, but all in the same company. So that's been really good. So what skills do you need to do my job? I think with CSR, you're constantly meeting lots of different people. You're responsible for lots of different relationships, maintaining internally relationships with clients, with local sort of community stakeholders. So you have to be very good at good socially, good speaking to people. You have to be able to manage relationships very well. You have to be organised. You have to be very on the ball and have everything ready to go all the time. It's very important. But I also think you have to genuinely enjoy what you do. You have to have a passion for the community and for giving something back. I think that's really important in that you want to, those less fortunate and those as well that we can benefit as a company who are very fortunate position to be able to do so. I think it's really important that we have to give back as well. So I first found out about CSR when I was at university. So as part of my sponsored degree, I covered a module about CSR. So this sparked my interest internally in my job as well as at university. So it's something that I wouldn't know, but I'd go on and actually work in CSR approximately 2 years after I studied it. So I got to build the relationships internally, which is really good. I'd recommend anyone, sort of the advice if you want to get into CSR is you have to be very sociable. You have to really care about your communities. You have to be able to work with a variety of different types of people. So stakeholder management is really key. You're working with different types of people, whether it's being other businesses, clients, members, schools, etc. You really have to be able to work with a variety of different people and have that real passion for the communities in which you're working. Is there lots of variety in my job? I'd say there is. So like I say, meeting and working with all sorts of different people from all walks of life, from different countries all around the world is absolutely brilliant. It's something I really enjoy. I do a lot of work, like I said, with STEM, some CSR, communications and social media and things like that, meeting different people. There's no 2 days really that are the same. Everything's different, all sorts of different types of work coming in all the time. So it's really varied and really enjoyable. I really enjoy it. I'd say the most rewarding part of my job is giving back to communities, whether this be through STEM camp programs in schools, doing mock interviews and that kind of thing, and seeing the real difference that you can make with children who may not know what they wanted to do in terms of a career. You could have a chat with a kid for 10, 15 minutes and it can completely flip their cycle of their ways of thinking. They could say, oh, well, I'm going to now apply for a sponsored degree, an apprenticeship, something like that. So being able to pass on your experience and the sort of things you've learned in life to people that will once you're in that same situation as well, that's really rewarding. So that was a brief summary of my job role, some of the things I get up to and some of my brief experience. Thank you for listening and I hope you enjoyed.
Fantastic. So you've completed the first video. Hopefully you've been able to take a little bit of something away there from our volunteer. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to introduce you to our second volunteer. So make sure you take notes throughout and I'll check back in with you shortly.
Hi, my name is Kai and I work for the Co-op in Manchester. They are a cooperative with retail businesses in insurance, legal services, funeral care and foods. I work for the food business of the Co-op and I work as a retail fraud analyst. My job basically involves identifying any cash loss that results from internal fraud. So to put this in simple terms, it's basically investigating people that work for the Co-op that are unfortunately stealing from the company. So to do this, I look at all the sales data for all the co-op shops in the UK, and the data ranges from till transactions, cash collections from the shop, reductions for items going out of date. So I use my data analysis skills to figure out who is stealing from the business. So as an example, I can download data and put it in Excel and use a pivot table to group data to sort of see a person who's performing a lot of refunds. This can indicate that someone could be carrying out some refunds that are not genuine, so that if they refund a product which is not meant to be refunded, they could be pocketing the money. So that's what my job is really pretty much. It's just trying to catch out people who are stealing from the company, and these are the people who are employed by the co-op. A day in the job for me, the basis of the job is quite similar. So each and every day I have to analyze data. We use a system called MicroStrategy, which holds all the sales data for co-op stores. So I'm always in there to fetch some data. I then take it into Excel 90% of the time, and I manipulate the data using pivot tables, formulas, VLOOKUPs, just to sort of find those members of staff who may have a high amount of refunds, as the example that I gave before, or who have a high amount of line voids as well. Another thing that I would do every day is to send out cases to area managers. So once I've looked at the data and I'm confident that something that's fraudulent is taking place, I forward it to an area manager who then goes into the store to further investigate. My job also involves speaking to other departments within the food business of the company where they feel like they're experiencing any cash loss, and most of the times anything to do with cash loss involves numbers. So we help them to analyze data, and we use our expertise in store processes to sort of pinpoint where we think there's a loophole for someone to commit any sort of fraud. Sometimes as well, depending on what the projects, on any active project, we might be called to sit in meetings, and we can sort of identify if there are any loopholes once again in any of the plans that project managers have where fraud could be committed. So that's what my day in work looks like. A lot of it is data, which I enjoy because I love to solve problems, I love numbers, and I just love a challenge, so I really enjoy it. How did I get into this career? I studied financial economics in university, and the reason I chose this is because I'd studied economics for my A-levels along with geography and business studies, so I'd always known that I would want to work with numbers and do a job where I'll be solving a lot of problems. After my second year of university, I completed an industrial placement for a year at the Mayor's office in London. I worked as a trainee economist, and in the role I was exposed to a lot of data. I dealt with data on unemployment, inflation, house prices, and it really made me more passionate about data. I really got so much experience. I worked with economists, I worked with big project managers, I worked with some analysts from Transport for London. It really gave me vast experience in data analysis. It really gave me confidence on how to use Microsoft Excel, how to use Microsoft Access, and how to use other business tools that analyze data. I also developed skills in communication, in how to work in a team, how to plan my time, and how to manage mini projects as well. So that placement really opened a lot of doors for me, and it was something good to put on my CV as well. So after that placement, I returned to finish my last year of university, and after graduating, I didn't land a job in data analysis straight away. I did some jobs that were admin. It really helped me as well just to build my confidence in a professional setting, to build my communication skills, how to work with people from all walks of life. I joined Co-op 5 years ago and I joined working in the human resources department. I was a data analyst and my job involved analyzing data for sickness, labor turnover. That's the amount of people that are leaving the business. It was really a job where I was dealing with human resource issues, but it was more of analyzing, and the data that we analyzed in my team, the managers would use them to set policies and to see how they would basically just govern the whole of HR and other wider areas as well. I moved into my current role 2 years ago. I'm enjoying it. I believe I would want to be doing it for the next 2 to 4 years. And I believe that all the little jobs that I did after uni, and I also volunteered as well. I didn't mention after uni when I couldn't get a job. I think I volunteered for 2 months with a charity company. All those things that I did, I believe they've equipped me to be where I am, and I'm just grateful. And that's it from me.
Fantastic. So we're halfway through. You've been able to see 2 volunteers up to now talk about some of the kind of activities they get up to day to day within their job. They've been able to share a little bit about their roles. Hopefully it has been useful. As we continue throughout this activity, make sure that you continue to write those notes to help you remember some of the key comments that were said throughout. When we get to the end of the session, when you complete that second activity, your notes will be really useful, so make sure you're using them. Okay, so what we'll do now is set you off with our third volunteer.
Hi guys, I'm Alex McCann from Manchester-based social media company Altrincham HQ. As the name suggests, we're based in Altrincham, which is based in South Manchester, and we offer social media training and social media management, which means we do the social media for businesses. What is my job title? Well, I own the company, so I guess owner, director, marketer. I have many job titles, but that's essentially, I call myself owner. I don't call myself an entrepreneur. I don't think social media marketing in 2020 is particularly entrepreneurial, although it helps lots of businesses. What's my job role in 3 points? Well, my job role is on social media training to turn businesses from okay to great. My job role on social media marketing or management is to deliver a return on investment for that business, i.e. to get customers through doors. And the third part of what we do is the community side. We like to help Altrincham-based businesses thrive. My average day, well, there isn't really an average day in social media marketing. I would say every day is different because we have so many varied clients. But I guess if I had to sort of pinpoint what I do on an average day, it's getting up quite early. It's getting up about 7 o'clock in the morning. I then go onto Twitter first thing to check what's happening in the news and what's happening in the world, because what's happening in the world can impact on the type of content that we're pushing out and marketing for clients that day. Then I would traditionally hit the gym around 8 o'clock. While I'm in the gym, I would listen to, say, a marketing podcast or something educational. So I'm exercising both my body and my brain. I then would come back from the gym and would do what we call client engagement, which is responding and talking to people on social media on our clients' behalf to enable them to build stronger relationships with those businesses. Then what I would traditionally do after that is maybe do a training session with a client that would last about 3.5 hours. That's quite in depth. So we're doing that, then it's coming back for more engagement, and the afternoon tends to be what I would call content creation. So it might be writing a blog, it might be creating some graphics, it might be doing some videos, it might be recording a podcast. They always say marketing content is king, so we generally do something new in terms of content production every day. And then I do work in the evenings as well. So my evening would be traditionally scheduling some of our clients' updates for later in the week. We use software for that. So it might mean 2 or 3 hours dipping in and out of each client's account, and we work with varied businesses from suited professional services through to restaurants and retailers and charities and tradesmen. But we have to take on different sort of heads, different voices, and different messages. So we spend about 2 or 4 hours in the evening scheduling updates for clients. Not necessarily an average day, but that is what we would typically do throughout most days. And the order of that might be radically different depending on what's in our schedule. How did I get into social media marketing? Because I guess you want to know, how does someone get paid to spend their life on a computer, on their phone, doing what you do every day? I used to work I've always studied marketing, basically. I used to be a journalist, a music journalist, so I used to interview rock and roll bands like My Chemical Romance and Paramore and Panic at the Disco and Muse and so on. So I learned the art of a good story during my journalism career. I also ran an events company before this. So I learned the art of social media in the very, very early days of social media, in the MySpace days. I always knew marketing. I always studied marketing. I always used it to promote what I was passionate about. My biggest sort of awakening call for social media marketing specifically was I was managing a young band at the time, and the band were going through those sort of musical changes that you get to when you reach about the age of 16. And one of the dads simply said to me, you should do social media marketing for businesses rather than rock and roll bands, because bands split up and businesses are generally around for the long term. So that sort of idea sat around in my head for about maybe 1 or 2 years. And I simply set up an account called, which is the business name now, Altrincham HQ, to talk about what was going on in my hometown of Altrincham. I was sort of sick and tired of businesses opening, sending a press release to the local newspaper, and the local newspaper taking about 6 weeks to print it. I thought, I've kind of got a device in my pocket called a phone, and I can promote the news real time. And because I did that, businesses wanted to know how to grow an audience, how to get the message out there, how to communicate using social media. So I kind of fell into it by accident partly, but I think that's the great thing about life, is you can do something you're passionate about, and somehow through the world of magic and positive thoughts, great things happen. So that's all a positive spin. I guess you also want to know, are there any disadvantages to the job? As you saw sort of when I talked about what I do in an average day, it's a very long day. There is no switch off point in social media, so you have to be prepared to work really long hours. I think that's why people talk about the mental health issues partly of social media, and particularly those that work in marketing. So as I said, I start work at 7, and because we work with restaurants and hospitality businesses, my switch off point can be 11 p.m. at the night or even midnight sometimes. I struggle sometimes with the amount of trying to get those 7 hours of sleep. I have to force myself to do it, because otherwise I just wouldn't switch off. So that's probably the biggest disadvantage in working with social media marketing. But there's lots of rewarding points. The highlight of my career, I think the highlight of my career is starting a business off that was designed to help Altrincham businesses. And then because of that work, I've gone on to work with some major brands like the BBC, Manchester City, the Lowry Theatre, the Manchester Arndale, the NHS. I think, yeah, just that recognition, just like a normal guy from Altrincham can set up these businesses to help small Altrincham businesses and then work with international brands is really powerful. And that's kind of like, does my job allow me to travel? It does. I went to Ireland for the first time with work. I went to Scotland for the first time with work. I regularly work in London. I've worked in Liverpool, Cambridge, all across the UK, and I never imagined that. I really, really love it when I travel and I get to stay over and actually see a little bit of the town or the city that I'm staying in. The downside is sometimes when you travel, sometimes it literally is just a train journey down to the city, taxi to the business, taxi back to the train station, back home. And again, that fits into the really long days. Social media marketing, I've been 10 years doing this. I wouldn't change it for the world. It's still as exciting as when I first started it, because the great thing about social media is it never stays still. Even while I'm recording this in lockdown, the social media companies have announced changes, different features, and that keeps you on your toes. And I think that's the great thing about doing a job like this is I will never be doing what I'm doing now in 6 months' time, a year's time, 10 years' time, because it changes, and that's exciting. So if you're looking to do a job that's got variety, exciting, and keeps you on your toes, you're always learning, social media marketing is definitely a job to do. Thank you. I've been Alex McCann from Ultimate HQ, and you're going to hear more about my business on ultimatehq.co.uk.
A big thank you to our third volunteer there. One of the things I'd like to just mention at this point is that all jobs have different routes. You're able to get into employment through different means. You can use education, you can use apprenticeship schemes and internships. You can also get in the business early without any formal education. But just keep in mind there are lots of different options out there. Without further ado, I'll introduce our fourth and final volunteer, who's going to share just a little bit more about themselves.
I'm Danielle Black and I work for Peel Land and Property, and I'm based at Media City UK in Salford. Peel Land and Property is an asset management company that owns and looks after a huge property portfolio. The company focuses on the regeneration of areas, creating places to live, work and entertain. One of those places is Media City UK, which was created on a disused land site and is now Europe's leading creative, tech and digital hub. And this is where I'm fortunate enough to work from each day as a senior management accountant. My job role in 3 bullet points would be managing people, producing the account, providing lots of analysis. A day in my job consists of reviewing costs and income that have been entered into the accounting software by the transactional team, managing my team and having discussions with my manager or other department staff regarding accounting queries, transactions, or processes. When I was younger, I wanted to be a pop star, but failing that, my backup plan was to become an accountant. Very different, I know. I had a family member that had a very nice car, and my mum told me that he was an accountant, so I decided that was exactly what I wanted to do, and here I am. My accounting career became a reality after I committed myself to years of hard studying alongside gaining experience of the workplace. At 18, I worked full-time as an accounts clerk whilst going to night school twice a week for 3 years. Following this, I began to study for my chartered accountancy qualifications, and I passed out a few years later, again whilst working full-time. The hard studying was worth it, and I'm now in a very comfortable financial position in a respected career. I wouldn't change my path at all, and I'd recommend this path to all budding accountants. The highlight of my career so far was going to Sandhurst Military Academy on a residential management training course. The course was brilliant, and it involved learning about different behaviours and personalities of other people and how to manage that. And I was able to participate in some exciting challenges that Army cadets actually go through during their training. There was also a private presentation and Q&A with a highly ranking officer that served in the Iraq War. The whole experience was a one-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Sandhurst is a place where highly notable officers trained, for example, Winston Churchill and Prince Harry. Being selected for this training was a huge achievement for me. The course actually had limited spaces, and people management from all different departments were considered for selection, so I was very fortunate to be selected for this. A common misconception about working as an accountant is that it's a dull job and it's focused mainly on counting and cash. I think a lot of people think that banking is accounting. It's actually a very different industry altogether in the financial world. There are different types of accounting roles, and for me, which I'm a senior management accountant, and a management accountant's responsibility is to provide useful analysis and financial information to managers in order to help them make business decisions, which in turn help aid profit and growth for the business overall. It is a varied role, and you get to get involved in quite a lot of nice different tasks. So it is an interesting job, despite people thinking that it's mainly being counting. Some of the skills that you would need to be a management accountant are excellent analytical and numerical skills, good communication skills, a sound business knowledge, and good attention to detail. If you do wish to manage a team yourself, then you would need to be a good leader, or at least aim to be that, which would involve being motivational and inspiring, as well as fair and firm. It's quite difficult to be a manager when you're managing people, but it's definitely something that's worth it, as you can help people develop and learn new skills that they may not have thought they was capable of. And I'd just like to say that it's very rewarding. So if you're thinking of a job as an accountant, I hope this helps, and good luck for the future.
And there you have it. You've heard from all 4 of our volunteers today. Hopefully through their stories, through them sharing a little bit about themselves, some of their journeys into employment, and just a little bit about their current jobs and their careers. Hopefully that's been able to maybe inspire you or encourage you to start thinking about your own future. Maybe to think about what it is you want to do in the future once you have left school, once you've maybe been to college or done an apprenticeship. What is it that you really want to do in life after school? Thank you for taking part today. We really appreciate it, and a big thank you to all our volunteers. Hopefully you'll be able to complete that second activity sheet. This is just an opportunity for you to reflect back on everything you've learned today, and it's also going to give us a chance to find out if you've got any questions for our volunteers. So a big thank you from Salford Foundation, and a big thank you from our volunteers for taking part today, and we hope to see you soon.